Hello, and welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass. Today I have
I'm
Ben. Oh, there we go. He is Ben. We are sadly not joined by Apex and Chill today. He is away with his wife, who is taking him out on a hot date that you should do. But we are here, and we're going to talk about deployments. We did a podcast earlier about missions. You can go look at that one for our thoughts and comments about missions. But now we're going to talk about deployments and all that good stuff. So Ben, if you go to the Starcraft Army Builder, there's you could just do standard deployments, and they're all there. I'm good at starting with Acropolis, just alphabetically what they're lined up as, because it's the easiest way to go.
Yeah. Works for me.
What else do we... I think we completely forgot to plug stuff last podcast, which is fine, but like and subscribe, join the BonkTable Discord, like and subscribe to Competent Conquest's YouTube channel where Ben streams his games, and, listen to the other episodes of the podcast. There we go, I did it.
Plugged.
Complete. Checklist. Awesome. Get 30 gold coins and 24 XP for completing this quest.
I don't have any of that.
You don't have
It didn't go into my inventory.
Oh, well, you might have to file a bug report to Blizzard. Ask a game master.
To be fair, this game is at least Blizzard related, so the joke kind of works.
Yeah, that's exactly why it works. Acropolis. Let's talk about that guy.
Yeah. So, this is actually one of the two scenarios that I picked for my tournament list.
Yeah.
I think it's good for any list that wants to be in melee, basically, because there's obviously deployments right next to each other that are 18 inches apart. So,
but it was a 30. It's 54. Oh my! You might just be right, because I'm not going to do that. I thought about my head.
I mean, I am right. The boxes on there are 6 inches, so it's okay.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't realize the boxes were 6 inches, or I could have done this faster instead of whipping out a calculator, but I like to double check my work because I'm dyslexic.
I am also dyslexic. Huzzah, dyslexia.
Yay! I call it my sexlexia, and the girlfriend hits me.
I mean, that's fair. But yeah, so Acropolis, I like it. It's a pretty standard deployment. I think I like it a little bit more than Gauntlet, especially if you want to be engaging things, because it gives you more aggressive plays. But I think mostly it just scares Terran players.
Yeah.
Into picking Typhoon. For me, that's a big thing. Is I kind of pick it to scare Terran players into picking Typhoon.
Because Typhoon is easier to play Typhoon than it is Acropolis as Terran. Whenever I played this, it was just I feel very much trapped in a corner, and there's no real good way to get out, because the Zerg or Protoss player has a lot of flexibility of getting places on this very easily. They can come into your side, and they feel like they can come into your ass if you're not careful. As a Terran player, one of my big issues with it is that because the deployment is so small, you tend to have a bunch of units fighting over one, let's say 4, marker 4. Let's say, you put a bunch of stuff there, they're all fighting there, but you need to get to the other markers, and your opponent just goes and steals 2 from you, but can't really reinforce 2 very well, just because of...
You end up splitting yourself.
Yeah, you're splitting...
And the way Jimmy works, the power that Jimmy brings to your army is so important.
Yeah.
That you can't afford to be splitting yourself up.
And that's why I'm you give up 3 out of the 5 scenario elements just off that, because you're really just fighting for 4 and 5 as the Terran player a lot of the times. And it's just I'm not getting anywhere with this.
Yeah, I agree. I think you give up too much. So it if I'm a Protoss player and I play into Protoss or Zerg who have also picked Acropolis, it's fine. We can play that game. Not a big deal. I'll play it all day. But Terran players are just gonna pick Typhoon, and Typhoon is very good for you into Terran as a melee faction, because you're able to fight over those middle zones well. They at least can play on it, but it's better for you, right? You're advantaged there. So I'm pretty happy with that. I like Acropolis because I like, at least I want my maps to be able to play into my faction strengths, and it does that well.
Yeah.
So
and we've talked about the draft system before of like control of the deployment, control of the mission, and in the last podcast we came to the conclusion that having control of the deployment is more powerful than control of the mission, because at least like if someone's trying to play supply drop and divide and conquer, like everyone can play on divide and conquer. You don't really want to play on supply drop. Maybe like they're doing divide and conquer in front lines. How you feel about that? But you don't want to get stuck.
Protoss, like you know, the thing is, there aren't the worst thing that can happen to you, right, is playing against Protoss on divide and conquer and supply drop, because those are the two kind of like weird scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But Protoss doesn't like divide and conquer that much, and Zerg doesn't like supply drop that much. So you're not really worried about it at this point. So you generally want to veto bad deployments for you significantly more than you want to pick the final deployment option.
Like if someone shows up with Acropolis and Proving Grounds, it's like, yeah, we're not playing either of those. Hells no.
Yeah, not if you can avoid it. Like
if I get the veto, or if I get to pick the bands, it's like, and they walk up with that, I'm like, yeah, no, we're not playing that. You get to pick one of my two missions, and it's like I for sure don't want to give them that, because they'll be like, oh, I wanna veto your two. It's like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah, it gets rough fast. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty. I think it's a good board, because it has advantages for some factions, and it makes you play the game in a different way.
Oh.
Right? Like, it's not the normal, obvious way to play your scenarios. So I think overall, it's a good one. I'm not gonna I don't know. I guess 8 out of 10. Like I picked it.
8?
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also give it an 8. Like it's not like the. I feel like the 10 is the pinnacle of deployments, and I'm like, it's not, but also it's really solid and it's really good. For sure an 8. Breach? Want to do Breach?
Yeah. You want to start on Breach? You brought it to your scenario, right?
Yeah, I brought it to the scenario. So Terran really likes Breach because it puts as much distance between you and your opponent as possible. It gives you more opportunities to shoot them on their approach. There's plenty of things that your opponent can do, especially in the other two factions, to get up the table, or even in Terran itself to get up the table to reduce that range. But I think Breach is going to be a Terran go-to, simply because of that. How much further you are away from your opponent. The scenario elements are 18 inches up the table, but that's okay. You want to get up there, but their opponents reinforcing off their deployment line are going to have a harder time to do so. But there's plenty of other tools and tactics to reduce that and accommodate. So I quite like Breach, but it's also I believe a lot of people have seen this deployment before. It's I think 40k turns. It was called Hammer and Anvil. I think Dawn of War was their regular, the Gauntlet deployment, while Hammer and Anvil is this. And gun factions love more distance between them and their opponent, while melee factions, Protoss and Zerg, don't really want to see this one too much.
It's fine for Protoss. We just have a lot of mobility, and a lot of Protoss players, or some Protoss players, really like Warp Gate, which is our 6-pool equivalent. And it can be really good with that, especially the Barsara map specifically, that we were playing on TTS. I know that Leaf really liked that deployment, because he would use his Warp Gate, and he would throw out a sentry unit, and he would just block off the only gap.
Oh yeah, on those old
on one side, and just block off Yeah, well, and just block off a whole half of the board basically from his opponent, and it's like, well, that's really clever. Like it, but it's partially specifically the board, and I don't know how consistently you're going to have those options, but definitely that's a small enough table edge that being able to do that with sentries that take the upgrade is going to always be on the table. So I think that was interesting, and I think that's a clever use. So there's something there for sure. Like Protoss can play on it, but you're probably designing for it.
Yeah. Like I think this board gets a lot of use of all the alternative deployment shenanigans. So the drop ships, the coming in from the edge, the proxy barracks, the warp warp gate ability, and six pool.
Yeah.
All those, and then like your worms and pylons, they all like all that movement tech really matters a lot on breach to try and close that distance as quickly as possible for like Zerg and Protoss, and even just reinforcing for Terran like onto the side of the table, bringing more stuff on closer to the actual fight with like a proxy is really useful.
Yep.
Yeah, I like this map a lot, but it's also not the greatest of inspiring maps. It's very much just like, we have taken Gauntlet and flip Gauntlet, go. Like, it's not. This is like they literally made Gauntlet first, then they made Breach.
Yeah,
tell.
And it's very much your like classic. Does a very specific thing, pretty straightforward. It's nothing to write home about, but like I think it's a solid like 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say it's a 6 out of 10.
It changes the game. Like it makes you think about the game differently. It changes the viability of units. You can actually assemble your list in a way, like if you like using 6-pool type cards, then playing on Breach is going to be much more interesting to you, right? Because those cards are significantly better on that map.
You know what? Something I just thought about this now. We should also talk about the various missions on these maps and their combinations of like some that you want to see on these maps and maybe some that you not necessarily want to see. Like on Breach, because you're taking so long to get to the objectives and you're doing that lots of running, whole position is probably really nice. Maybe not so on front lines of getting across, but also gather the resources is really good on this because you have one of your opponent's zones closer to you, so you can actually just kind of mob that thing and just go pick flowers. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
While
gather the resources is like it. I think that's one of the reasons. Like Terran already likes it because it's harder. Because Terran doesn't really want to spread out. So the fact that you're coming towards somebody, Jimmy can be pretty centralized and kind of easily support whatever side of the board he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, medics are kind of inherently good at gather, and there's just those backline objectives that people aren't really going to get to, right? Like, you have a pretty easy backline objective that you can just sit there and farm with units that don't have an action in the assault phase, other than, run. But they don't have shots, and they don't want to charge very often.
Yeah, this is very much like a Terran map. Gather, this is a Terran mission. Front lines, I think, like you can play front lines on this. It's just a little harder because you have to cross so much table to get into your opponent's objectives when they take those.
Right, I think that's a good example of like if you're playing front lines, if you like using the 6-pool type effects, then front lines is a pretty viable one on Breach because you can just jump on that zone like literally first deployment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but you got to get the bonuses. You got to take it from your opponent. So it'd be like in a later deployment as they pull off to push forward. You could sneak it.
Yeah, you can sneak it. Oh yeah, I was confusing it with hold position again.
That's poor bad.
But yeah, like front lines is kind of like, I don't think front lines really cares what map you're on. It's kind of the same game plan no matter what.
Be aggressive, be aggressive.
And it's not. It's like going and getting a zone and then holding it, right? Like it has to be things that like. It's just Frontlines is really good for Protoss, and it's not good for either of the other two factions because Protoss have more supply and more resilient supply than most factions.
all about taking your opponent's stuff for the bonus.
Yep.
Supply. I don't think you really want to play supply drop on this because their zones are pretty spread out between each other, and it's a lot of walking. Like, of course, you have those other deployment types, like the pylon, the worm, and the six pool to kind of like try and sneak in. But if you're getting zoned out by something, it's just like, well, okay, the one marker triggered and all your stuff is over there. I'm just gonna walk away and start heading towards the other ones because we need to do that. Like it just. I find these scenario elements much more further out away from each other to really jump between them effectively.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if breach is one of your if breach is one of your mission or one of your deployments, you probably don't have supply drop as one of your missions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I guess like there's a Protoss list that can do it pretty well. Like if you run Warp Gate and Prism, like there's play there, but I wouldn't want to do that. Like I still wouldn't want to do that.
I don't want to hurt myself. And was it?
It feels like I don't think I'd want to. I don't know. You can write a list for it, which I think is cool, but I don't. That's not the avenue I would look for. But it is something that people might not be expecting, so there's something to that.
Yeah.
It also kind of depends on when list choice is, because if list choice is after mission choice, but it can't be, right? Like, you have to choose your list, because your lists will have different missions.
Your lists tell you what missions you're playing.
Yeah.
Then what? We got Divide and Conquer. Like, Divide and Conquer is Divide and Conquer. It doesn't really care for this at all. It's just, you're just running across the table. Fine for Divide and Conquer. It's just a little bit more running to get to your opponent's side of the table. That's about it. I think actually you deploy from the side, right across the line onto your opponent's quadrant, but as close to your quadrant as possible, and be like, or close to your deploy as possible, be like, okay, I'm putting supply on the table to your side. You have to put stuff here now, before I take this quadrant. Have fun.
Yep.
That's breach. I still think it's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I think it's a 6 out of 10. I think it's a solid scenario, like a solid board, and I don't know. I think it's pretty standard, but really the only ones that are weird are like Acropolis, or that are like new are Acropolis and Proving Grounds. Proving Grounds will be interesting.
Yeah.
It's a weird one, but we have Gauntlet first, which is what we like to call L basic.
5. You're the 5. Fuck it, you're the 4. You're a default. 4. you default.
I think it's a 5. Like, I think it's good. I think almost every mission plays well on it, and every army has good play on it. So it's the one that I think is the most balanced.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's why like that tournament and playing those games, I think a lot of people are going to play Hold Position Gauntlet. End up in the Hold Position Gauntlet because it's just the most, like, everyone has game into that combo. And so it's just kind of like, there you go. You know, that's your standard deployment and mission because it does it well. Divine Conquer's fine on this. Supply Drop's on fine on this because everything is closer to the other. Like, I noticed marker 1 and 2 are slightly skewed off, what I quite like, and, you know, breaks up the monotony of it. It's not like they're all in a perfect square. What they could have done, but they chose not to, what I think is really smart from the developers.
And it's reasonably difficult to get on 2 zones with 1 unit. Like Hydras can do it, but it's hard for like Marauders to be on like 3 and 2. Mm-hmm. Like, they can do it barely, but they're like very stretched out doing it.
Yeah, and that's why you take lasers, so you can. But I like Gauntlet. But it's also because I feel like everyone has played Gauntlet just by playing war games innately. So fine, the 5.
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Frontlines is fine on this. Gather the resources might be tough on Gauntlet because now you have to take your opponent's zone, or you just have to control the neutral zone to actually pick flowers. So you don't necessarily have.
I wouldn't want to play Gather on Gauntlet because like you're only going to probably gather in the middle on Gauntlet. So it does feel like a pretty it feels a lot like you turn it into a one zone game a lot of the time if you play Gather on Gauntlet. So I think that's relevant.
Well, so you're just playing hold position with extra steps.
Cool. Yeah, that's fair.
Do you want to go back and talk about the missions on Acropolis, or you want to keep going?
We can go back and talk about the missions on Acropolis.
We kind of talked about it as a deployment type, but like we didn't really talk about the like. I don't think you want to play gather resources on this because you have to fight into your opponent's zones, and they have a very easy ability to reinforce them to prevent that. What's really bad for you?
I agree. I think gather is in it's not good on Gauntlet, and I think it's almost unplayable on Acropolis.
Frontlines, I think you actually kind of want to do on Acropolis because you can like go steal your opponent's stuff because you guys are so close to each other.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to do the diagonal cross. Basically, the Typhoon deployment into if you're blue, right? Like the Typhoon your way from the right side of your deployment over towards 3, or over toward the left side on the top deployment over towards 1. To try to steal their zones, and you can push in pretty well into a fair amount of lists. Anybody who's just generally more defensive, you can push them into that, and they can reinforce from right there, but you're not that far away.
No.
So yeah, I actually like Frontlines a lot on Acropolis. Supply drop I like on Acropolis too because it's pretty mobile.
Even just reinforcing to just run onto a zone to tag it at the end of the turn. It started the turn, 3 is active. Okay, I'm gonna drop something on 3. Your opponent's like, well, I'm not really gonna get there. So I'll either try and shoot some shit or move around, whatever they need to do.
Yep.
Then what we have Divide and Conquer is fine on Acropolis. I think it's weirdly
Divide and Conquer is always fine. The only one Divide and Conquer sucks on is Typhoon.
Typhoon.
And we'll get there when we get to it. And it's literally because there are two deploy or 2 of the quarters don't have zones in them, so it makes the mission seem weird, I guess.
Okay. Didn't we play Divide and Conquer on Typhoon?
Yeah, we did exactly that, and I didn't like it. So
that's fair. Proving Grounds. Woo! Say your piece on this one.
So I actually don't hate Proving Grounds that much, but it's Zerg advantage for sure. It's okay for Protoss. I don't know how much I like the picking color being so important.
Yeah, because here's the thing: if you're playing Terran, I think you want to be the blue player because you're projecting all your force out of that. If you have to split your force projection out of the 2 red zones as a Terran player, you're in a bad spot. While both Zerg and Protoss can play flip-flop between them a lot better, and I think Zerg gets the best bets with their burrow ambush capturing, if they're playing red, capturing the 2 back zones that are blue, especially on something that's hold position where you can double score that turn 1 or turn 2.
Yeah, Zerg hold position on Proving Grounds is really, really rough for the blue player. Just in general. So if you can set that up against Terran, I think you're going to be in a pretty big advantage. Supply drop's fine. They're all pretty reasonable to get to. So I wouldn't worry too much about supply drop. Obviously, Frontlines is always fine because it's just about controlling and flipping.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I Frontlines is probably pretty solid for the blue player on Proving Grounds, because they're likely to fight their way out and have lost the zones early. So the comeback mechanic is actually helpful. Overall, I really don't hate Proving Grounds. I just think it's a little imbalanced based on the color you get, and I don't know how I feel about that, right? Let's say you roll first or whatever, and you choose blue, and for 4 out of the 5 scenarios, it doesn't matter what color you pick.
Yeah.
But for one of the scenarios, it could be a huge problem. or just for one of the deployments. So that's my problem with Proving Grounds is that like color makes too big of a difference in it. For especially since you picked color before we know if Proving Grounds is gonna be available.
What I think is real bad, because you could be like, oh, I want to be blue because if we're getting like a regular ass deployment, I'll be fine, and then it's just like, what the fuck am I doing? How did I end up like this? God damn it.
Yeah, like if Proving Grounds is in the pool, you have to think about, and you win the roll, you have to think about which thing you'd want on Proving Grounds, even if you don't plan to like pick Proving Grounds. Thankfully, you can either, if you didn't have it as one of your pool, you can either veto it or just pick the other thing.
Yeah.
So you are never forced to play Proving Grounds if you just don't put it in your list.
Yeah. That means you might be playing like Typhoon or Acropolis or something instead.
Yeah, it probably means you're playing Typhoon, right?
Yeah.
Like, or because or Acropolis, yeah. Like, I could actually see, as a Zerg player, I might pick Proving Grounds and Acropolis relatively often. Because I think Zerg is actually okay playing from blue on Proving Grounds. They don't love it, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But they're really good playing from red.
Yeah, because they can easily defend their 2 zones while stealing and then pushing forward into the blue player. Stealing the 2 blue zones and then pushing forward towards the neutral to kind of lock the blue player out. And you, weirdly enough, I think you steal the 2 back as Zerg, you steal the 2 back blue if you're red, heavily push in on one of your reds, and then play a declined flank on the other red so that they can never like leave it, so that pulls resources away, and then you kind of collapse into the middle onto 5 1 zone at the end of the game. Because if they can't push into you or like kind of do a back steal, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I think the only thing I wouldn't want to do on it is play hold position as blue.
No.
I really like, if I'm a blue player, if I'm blue and it's hold position on Proving Grounds, I'm sad. So if I would put Proving Grounds in my list, I would not put hold position in my list. Because I would not want to, I just would never want that situation to come up.
Yeah. But I think a Zerg player is taking this, to be honest, just to like fuck with
Yeah, I think a Zerg player is taking this in Acropolis. Because then they'll be able to play Acropolis fairly often.
Yeah, they want to get in there with all their little Zerglings and be like, blah, 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 blah. So it's great for them.
Yeah, and I think they're good at it either way because they can burrow ambush onto the blues, and then they can just like fight over the reds and like the neutral. So, yeah. And it actually works pretty well. Like, they can very easily take 2 zones and maybe 3 zones if they get this and if they take Proving Grounds and Divide and Conquer, I think they actually are in a really good spot. Like, I think that's a pretty good setup for them, especially if they're on like double Domineering Queen.
Yeah, that's gonna be,
because you're gonna be able to grab 5 for free, which is a 2 victory point zone, and the only zone that's actually worth VPs in that scenario. And they're going to be able to just like hard lock their 2 table quarters because of Domineerings, and likely threaten the other 2.
Yep.
So
very good. What would you rate it though?
I'd probably rate it like a 4. I don't know. It's hard. This one's hard to rate. I don't like the fact that it's lopsided based on a color choice that you make before you know if it's the scenario.
Yeah, that is bad.
Because of the draft. So that's my problem with it, but I do like that it makes you think about the game differently, and it is a different style of play. So I guess I'm probably going to put it on a 3, but I think it's a 3 because you choose the color in the draft, like before you know that it's the scenario in the draft portion, and it makes that makes it weird.
I agree. Not a huge fan of it. I was gonna give it a 4 at most, but I'll drop it down to a 3 as well. Do you think it would be improved if they had a second blue spot on the other side? Like, same distance, same width as the blue deployment, but this like across from it?
I mean, yeah, but well, no, I don't know. it's like obviously that'd be better for blue, but I think then blue would be advantaged most of the time.
So it's just not balanced. Like, it's not very well balanced at all.
Yeah, like I think you have access to the neutral really well, which is nice.
But most of the time, the neutral is just another point for your color on a bunch of maps, or has to be flip flop.
Yeah,
like it doesn't. It's not like Proving Ground specifically. Like, it gives you an extra point for controlling it. So like even though you're disadvantaged because the red player is stealing everything, like you're still point even with because you get additional points. It's not how that works.
Yeah, but like if you're Zerg and you take let's say you're Zerg and you're running a list with Corpsers and Domineerings, so then you can do something along the lines of gather the resources and divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And then you can take like Proving Grounds and Acropolis, and that's fairly interesting.
Hold on, I'm just gonna go see if the roaches can get burrow ambush. They can. So you burrow ambush the Corpsers. Yeah. You burrow ambush the Corpsers onto the back two if you're the red player, and just have them gather resources the entire game, and while the Corpsers fuck off. I think that's brilliant. Maybe that's why they're like 200.
Or if you're in Divide, right? Like the Roachlings all of a sudden are worth a VP if they're on those zones too. If they're scoring them.
Oh God.
They're worth they're worth a supply in those table quarters. So like if you're doing something, if you're playing Corpsler games, then there's play there.
I love how as players we keep coming back to the Corpsers trying to make them work. Like, people want them not to be absent fathers.
I think they're good. Like, 70 points for a unit that's not worth any supply isn't that bad. The hard part is the 2 biomass to drop them.
Yeah. Can you is it once per game summon, or can you keep spamming them once they die?
It's once per game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like.
But yeah, if I were going to do this setup, I would take Proving. I'll just throw this out there as something I would totally do. Right. So I would go Acropolis and Proving Grounds with Divide and Conquer and Gather the Resources in a double Corpser, like in a double Corpser list. And I would have, and my game plan would be like fairly obvious, I guess, but like because I've already stated it. But I can see that being a very interesting setup that you put together, where the Corpsers are really doing a lot of work, because in both Divide and Conquer and Gather the Resources, Roachlings do a lot of work.
Yeah, they're just medics, but can have knives. They're great.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they're just models. Like at the end of the day, they are a unit. So
yeah, I want to see someone like get it to work, because it's like I've seen people try and put Corpsers down to do the thing, and they usually just never end up doing the thing that is like picking the flowers or like being worth that more supply. And it's just like I want to see someone do it, and then like do it consistently to make it an actual strategy to like really. It's like, this is how you unlock them. But with the draft system, it's like, okay, you need your opponent. You and your opponent somehow have to pick the same thing to do it. So it's like maybe you're playing into another Zerg player who has Acropolis and Typhoon, and then like Divide and Conquer and Supply Drop, and so like you ban out the missions, but for some reason they pick Proving Grounds. I don't know. Like it's hard to get the exact strategy down, I found, with due to the draft games, or the draft format.
Yeah, because like you're not, unless your opponent also brought Proving Grounds, you're not going to play Proving Grounds.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you will never, any one mission or any one thing that's not in the list, like, because if there's 4 different ones, you're going to play either your second worst or your second best.
Yeah.
Because most of the time what happens is you just like ban whatever you're banning, you just ban their choices. And then they ban your choices. Unless you have the same things, and then they can be like against Dizerg, he's like, well, we both have I think we both had Typhoon and Acropolis, so he's like, well, I guess we're gonna play Typhoon, like
yeah, sure.
I banned his missions. And then he's like, well, I'm not gonna let Protoss play supply drop. So
Fair.
I guess we're playing Frontlines.
This poor man.
But so what I like about that Zerg, like concept at least, is that both missions are bad for a lot of armies. Like both of those missions are not good for Zerg lists that aren't planned for them or Protoss lists.
Yeah.
So like that as a list is an interesting choice to play into a Protoss player. Because Acropolis might be fine for them, but Proving Grounds isn't great. But both your scenario or both your missions are bad for them. So if you can get the ban on missions, you can just ban both their missions, and they have to choose one that they don't like.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like you could be playing. You're either gonna play one of their missions and one of your deployments, vice versa. Like I'll play Divide and Conquer on like Gauntlet. Don't really maybe not want to play Supply Drop, but if I put it really does that, but it's on Gauntlet, it might not be as bad. It's not. Yep. It's not like they're getting like their cake and eating it too due to the draft format, and that's so it's like unless your opponent doesn't even know what they're doing, what is it happens, but let's not assume that your opponent doesn't know what they're doing and is actually a competent player. You're not getting your cake and eating it too, and also if that magical like Proving Grounds and gather the resources does happen with your corpses list, they probably also have a very similar list trying to do maybe the same thing.
Yep.
So, yeah, cool. I still agree. It's a 3.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a 3. I just think at least there's a place for it.
Yeah.
Typhoon is my most played map.
Yeah, because you're a monster.
It is my second favorite map, or my third favorite map, which means that in tournaments you play it a lot. Like if you use the draft system, you play a lot of Typhoon probably.
So Protoss has taken this for sure. Is that what I'm understanding?
Like it's good for Protoss. It's good for Zerg. I'm actually kind of. As a Protoss player, I think I'm actually going to go away from Typhoon and go into Gauntlet.
Why?
But like the corners are so easy for me to get most of the time that I don't know. It's been pretty good. I don't know. I'm on the fence. Like Typhoon is actually the one I'm a little bit on the fence about because like it just ends up turning into this fight over the middle.
Yeah, because you have to run so far to get to it. I find. Because you're deploying out of one of the two corners of your Typhoon style deployment, like not in the actual corner of the map, but the edges of your deployment, and then you're running towards the middle because you can put a unit of Marauders between two of these zones pretty easily. And the two corner zones, 2 and 3,
Stalkers,
or Stalkers. You can easily control 2 of the zones. And then if that's what you're going for right off the bat is to control, let's say, 1 and 5, and you can probably run something over to tag 2 and then like fling it around to help support 1 and 5 as the battle's going. But it just feels like you're so far away because of the diagonal that it takes like a move and a half to actually get anywhere relevant. So because like additional movement shenanigans, deploying at different spots on the table really seem to benefit this scenario a lot. So like if you don't really have a ton of like go-go-goes or any like you didn't take Pylon or Worm, you're gonna feel just hanging out in the back and not actually being relevant and getting to the scenario pieces as quickly as you should be.
Yeah, the Worm and Pylon become such linchpins on Typhoon. where like, yeah, it's still a good scenario, a good map for you because you have those tools, but they become really, like, it feels like they become really important. And I don't know, I'm cooling down on Typhoon. I liked it a lot, and I still think it's a pretty good map. I don't like that it has a weird interaction with Divide and Conquer, where like 2 of the quarters just don't have a zone.
Yeah, and it's also like hard to kind of. I find it kind of like a little difficult to be like, we gotta get in there and do stuff. Like if you're running from your Typhoon deployment to the middle to like get some points onto that corner, because like if you leave that quarter, it's not tagged; it's always checked at the end. Find and Conquer or what? Mission card. Go double check that. Find and Conquer the first one. From the start of the first round, calculate the total current supply in each battlefield quarter. Gain 1 VP for each quarter where your total supply is higher than your opponent's. Yeah, so you have to have only units wholly within the contribute. If a unit controls a mission marker, they're worth 1 extra supply. So you have to leave something in each of those quarters. So on Typhoon, you are leaving something in those 2 empty quarters, what means they're probably trying to get to the 5 zone to be relevant to the battle.
Yep.
And
yeah, the stuff that's in those quarters has to be in that like tiny little wedge that's in the 5 zone in order to be relevant. And I didn't like that when we played it. I thought that was an unfortunate side effect of the scenario.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I don't think you really want to play Divide and Conquer onto Typhoon because of how like it makes those 2 dead quarters just terrible. To be honest, like we did play it and you had the roaches keep running away. What was smart of you, and I should have been more aggressive, but I don't think you really want to play Divide and Conquer on Typhoon. It just doesn't help. It doesn't help Divide and Conquer that much compared to the other scenarios.
No, yeah, I don't think that's I think it's a non-bow, which is the opposite of a combo.
Energy.
Yeah, it's a Scornergy. And I don't like it. You know, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't like that interaction. Otherwise, I think Typhoon is just fine, but it's not great either. Like it's the same distance to the middle as Gauntlet, and it's like, and I don't like that the zones are kind of like, yeah, I mean, very slightly further.
Oh, you're right. It's very slightly
3 inches. Yeah.
Draw the freaking right angle triangle to get out that 3.5. Like, yeah.
Yep. And like that corner part of the deployment is a little bit awkward too, because honestly, I'm not entirely sure how to measure it. Like we've been just measuring it, but I think you might have to like walk forward the base distance on before you go right.
Yeah, it's always been weird.
Yeah, it's always been weird, and like as long as you play the same way, it doesn't matter, right? But so we've always just been like, yeah, whatever. You just measure your 4 inches from that corner, and just huzzah, like that you can kind of diagonal off that corner. But like, I'm not sure you can, and. And then it doesn't. Make it facial as long as you and your opponent play it the same way, it doesn't matter. But it's just awkward that you have to like agree upon it every game if you're playing someone you haven't played with before.
Yeah, and like one of the big strengths of like Mark II War Machine was that the rulebook was so good that you could go really just play anyone anywhere in the world, and like it was fine because the rules were so tight. So it's just like getting rid of a little bit of ambiguity and just making tight rules just makes it a lot easier for everybody. What I quite like.
Oh yeah,
we're
getting very close to that.
Honestly, yeah, Starcraft's doing great. One of the things about Typhoon and Supply Drop is that 1, 4, and 5 are gonna be like the big hot spots, but it's like it's like you got to go run over and tag 2 and 3 at some point. It's just gonna be like. God damn it. So like can you pre-tag stuff in Supply Drop? I don't actually never checked or don't remember.
Yeah, I think if you control the zone, you score the thing, so you can pre-deploy it.
All mission markers are
Pre-tag 'em.
deactivated. Start of the round, 1 through 4, randomly determine one deactivated marker, 1 through 4, flip it to its active side. Start of round 5, mission marker is automatically active. Score VPs equal to the enemy supply destroyed this round from the start of the round for each activated controlled marker. But can you control a deactivated marker?
Yes.
Okay.
There's nothing that says you can't. Everything says you can. Deactivated just means that it doesn't score. Honestly, like, it doesn't mean anything other than, like, what it says in this mission.
Okay, cool. I just want to double check. So, like, I
don't love that word usage, because I definitely misinterpreted that the first time I did it. I had to, like, actually, like, go through some rules and chat with the Discord a bit, but yeah, it's that's how it works.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I think at like a turn, I don't know, 1 or something, you move something to tag those 2 corner zones quickly.
Yeah, and then you collapse.
You send it to the middle, because like it's very tough for your opponent to come in and steal it unless they're using like a proxy thing or they're like running something way over there. But then it's like out by itself. But then they're also like only have to steal it for 1 turn to count. So it's like, are you gonna turn around and send something back to contest them for that turn to keep it scored? So like, I guess like Typhoon is play and counterplay for supply drop.
Yep. Yeah, there's play and counterplay for supply drop. It's awkward for divide and conquer. It's basically impossible to gather the resources on it. Like, you have to go to the far corner one, and then they still have pretty easy access to just deploy and come get you.
Oh, it's really bad. Like, if you're doing gather the resources on Typhoon, you're going for like 1 or 4. Like, those are your 1, 4, and 5. Those are your gather resources. I don't even think. Because you don't score
unless you have adepts or like unless you have medics that don't want to like run or something in the movement phase to not get shot in the face. Like they don't really have the actions either. I don't know. I'm not a fan. Like it's a scenario that probably just like doesn't play a lot of its mechanics on that scenario.
So like
or on that map.
Gather the resources. You don't actually score any points for being on your zone, so there's no reason to actually take them unless your opponent is heading towards them. So I don't even think you actually actively go for 2 and 3 as each player. You now fight over 1 through 4. You're fighting over that little 6, 12, 18 by 12 square in the middle of the table.
Typhoon is advantaged for Protoss because they can run to 3 and 2 and then warp into 1 through 5. Right? Like, you can put a ghost on 4, and then run onto 3, and then at the end of the turn, like, you're actually fighting over 4, but you yoink the points. Yeah. And so, like, it is good for Protoss because of that, but I'm not sure it's good overall, and I don't know if it's better than Gauntlet for Protoss, because you can't hold those as well. You want to be able to tag stuff and leave it, and it's too easy for somebody to come back out and just grab it from you. Whereas Gauntlet, if you just like grab 2 and keep pushing forward, it's very hard for something to get to the back line and take 2 from you. Because even if they do, you could just like walk a zealot on from that board edge and charge.
Yeah, like it's 12 inches. Your zealot's on 7, so like what they have a 5.
They need a 5.
It's a 5 to the middle of the zone, and they're 3. So like. That's an 8. You have a +1, so you can get to like a and then you have zealous
and
round.
And
if you
roll 2 dice,
you can get there. You could zealous round not zealous rounds, leg enhancements for another 5. Another 5.
Yeah, basically. You can leg enhancements or
and you're in.
Warp Prism. Like you can easily do it, right? Yeah. Like they can walk on and just make that charge.
Yeah, that's why when we were talking about like Protoss lists, it's like one of the zealots probably should have leg enhancements just for that reason. To come up and tell someone to get the fuck out of here, like get off my property.
So I'll do a quick aside here. I did put them in one of the lists, but because of the nerf to placing into combat for Warp Prism, you don't really need leg enhancements because the times that you would need it, you could just use Warp Prism and Warp Prism has enough other uses for getting out of getting out of combats and other like shenanigans that you probably want to bring it. So you stop paying the 20 points for leg enhancements because you're not going to need it multiple times in a turn, and you get a more powerful one out of a card that you're already bringing.
Yeah, that's fair. You just walk up leg enhance or Warp Prism and then charge the guy anyway.
Yep, yeah, because like you're still you're 13 inches up instead of 12 inches up if you do that. So, which puts you literally in the middle of the zone, actually slightly past the middle of the zone. So
yeah, what's good? You're getting people. Damn.
So you're just not threatened on something like Gauntlet. Like it's just like, you know, you can easily grab 2 and 4 and then warp forward and not worry about it, I guess. Like because you're anything that deploys back there is just going to get countercharged.
Yeah, that's fair. What we talked about Gather, we talked about Divine Conquer, we talked about Supply Drop. Hold position and front lines are fine on this. They're kind of the most basic two. I don't know, like I wouldn't rate this one as highly as Acropolis for like interest and everything. But I don't think it like deserves the Gauntlet. I feel like it's a 6, maybe a 7 on a good day, but like a 6.
I'd put it at a 5.
Yeah.
The fact that it doesn't really play with Divide and Conquer or Gather the Resources well is a hit for me.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 6 just because it's different enough from Gauntlet and Breach. Kind of like, to me, it's kind of on par. No, it's worse than. But that's if I was Terran or in my Terran brain, it is worse. But I like it on the same level of as Breach.
Yeah, I like it generally. I think it's solid. I just think that like out of our 5 current missions, 2 of them don't play very well on it, and I think that knocks it down for me.
Okay.
So,
all right, I'm still gonna give it a 6. You got a 5. That's like we're pretty close on these because like I do think these deployments matter more necessarily than the mission cards. But like how you interact with the mission cards in your lists are a bit more. How I kind of feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think that I think missions tend to work well with factions, and scenarios tend to work well with missions. So it kind of like trickles down. But some of the deployments are just very bad for some armies, basically. Like obviously, like Proving Grounds is the worst one, and then Typhoon doesn't work with one of the scenarios. And I like that Proving Grounds is trying to do something interesting, and I think it succeeds in that. I just think that it's more imbalanced than I would want a deployment to be.
So in a tournament, you wouldn't want to see this. The bit of me wants to like be like Proving Grounds is a great narrative scenario, but not a great competitive tournament scenario.
You know what? Maybe I'm warming up on it because like,
God damn it.
I don't think you're gonna see it, right? Like, the only way you're ever gonna play Proving Grounds is if you're playing a list that wants to play Proving Grounds against another list that wants to play Proving Grounds.
I want to be blue
the
player.
Only way it'll ever get picked.
I want to be blue player. It's fucking 2 Zerg players ripping at the blue zone together or something stupid, or the red zone.
Yeah, like if you have 2 Zerg lists that like roll for like picking color, but even then, if you don't want to be blue in Proving Grounds, and somebody like goes, they pick blue, then you get the choice of like which thing you want to get vetoes on. You can be like, all right, I'll veto deployments, and then I'll veto both copies of Proving Grounds, right? So like you can still prevent it.
Yep.
I like that if you understand the draft system, you're never going to end up in a really bad position. So Proving Grounds is more of a scare tactic, I think, than anything else, and I don't hate that.
Yeah, so like during the list chicken part of it all, you're just like, oh, he's got proven grounds. Oh, I don't know what to do. And like freaking Apex is 100% putting this in just to fuck with people. He has no intention to play this. But then, like, does someone call his bluff? Do you think people would actually waste their time calling the bluff of being like, oh, we are going to play Proving Grounds? Like, what are we doing? This was a terrible idea. We're not prepared for this at all.
I mean, yeah. So I guess if you have it and your opponent also has it, you can win the roll. You can choose. You can just declare yourself blue player, and then you can choose to control the mission draft, which would let you veto the 2 non-proving ground deployments. And then so yeah, then you got them. Then you got to play it, and you got to either be red or blue. You got to pick your color. If you don't ever want that to happen to you, where you are randomly in a bad zone on proving grounds, then just don't take it in your list.
Yeah, see, like I feel like someone's gonna. Chuck would do it. Chuck and Apex are gonna get a game. He's playing Zerg or whatever. He has proving grounds. Apex is proving grounds, and then Chuck ends up controlling the vetoes for the deployments, and he vetoes the other two, and it's both proving grounds. And Apex is like, well, this is interesting. Like, and Chuck would play on it because he's a freak of nature. Like, he's a trickster god.
Yeah, I mean, and so, he's a good player, so
yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. So like, I would not be surprised in, like, let's say a 64-person event, there was 0 to 1 games of proving grounds played because you had that like one rablat who kept contaminating the test, and that's Chuck.
Yeah, and I like. It's in a weird spot. I think the weirdest thing that I feel about the deployments and missions and draft is that, like you said, you play like Gauntlet or Typhoon on front lines or hold position a lot. Like that's the majority of your games.
Yeah.
It's just kind of how things are gonna go.
Like, I find as more things come out and more sub-factions come out and all that stuff, this will change. I think maybe we should revisit this in like a year and a half, 2 years. You know, maybe a year or two from now. As more things have come out, as more sub-factions come out, maybe our opinions will change on that. And also, hopefully, more deployment types come out and mission cards come out that are good, or, you know, better than supply drop, better than proving grounds, and there's more things to talk about. But like, right now, as you previously mentioned, factions want certain missions, but then want certain deployments, and then you play kind of your second best and third worst, basically, into each other most of the time. Or you get
If you are limited of time on the amount of playtesting that you want to do, I would playtest games on Gauntlet and Typhoon with hold position and front lines, and then I would bring those to a tournament, and you probably won't have to play something you haven't played before. If you've only played those missions and you're trying to play like those like 4 combinations, you can probably make that happen.
That's fair. That'd be wild if it, like, in, I don't know, like a year's, you know, if this game ever gets huge to like 40k status or whatever, or big enough where people start really getting into that level of nitty gritty that they're like, the only optimal way is to play Gauntlet and Typhoon on like hold position and front lines. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Well, yeah, I mean, those are just the ones you're going to see the most. So if you have a limited amount of time, I would play those first. You know, like if you're testing for a tournament and you're only going to get like 2 games in, I would play those. Like I would play front lines or hold position on Gauntlet, and I would play the other one on Typhoon, and then like go off to your event if that's the only time you got. Like I would do that. I would pick those as your 4 things, and and you very likely, with the draft system, can play games that you've played before.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. All right, that is cutting this one a little short. Ben said he needs to go to bed a little earlier tonight. Thank you for being here, Ben. It's a good conversation about these deployments. Not as long as the missions, but also we pushing miles on the table. It's okay. I still think it was a very good discussion.
Yeah.
Got anything to plug at the end?
Yeah, we got off track with missions too. We started talking more about lists that worked well with missions.
Yeah, but that's something like people also want to hear, like stuff and tools and tactics they have to counter and deploy. Like that's all conversation that's good for this game and about this game.
Yep.
Because like not everyone in the world knows all the perfect stuff, and having civil conversation, bringing attention to it is good. It's free information. Go gobble it up. Yeah, I'm good. Do you have anything to plug?
No. I mean, I just played a tournament this week, or I don't know, like maybe a couple weeks ago. All 3 of my games were streamed on Competent Conquest, including my game against Mass, which was a very, very good, very close game. And I don't know, check those out if you want to see like us trying to play actually competitively.
Yeah, it's
instead of just we can't really turn it off, so we're pretty competitive all the time. But that one we like actually had to think about it.
Commit. Ben had to enforce the time because I was slow playing him.
We were both slow playing. I was just like, we actually do have a time. We have a schedule, and we were both kind of like, we do the same thing that we always do, where we just randomly chat during turns. It's like we need to actually play the game during our turns.
I think it's just because we're like sitting down, relaxing at our desks, drinking our cup of tea and all that crap, and it's just like, it's just like, friendly time, enjoy my friend. Well, if we were at like an actual tournament, it'd be like, die, motherfucker, I hate you. Just a complete
I feel like it would be exactly like that. Yeah. I think that is a perfect representation.
I've only played Carl in person once, and I'm not gonna lie, it was like it's completely different than playing him on TTS, and it was the funniest thing ever because we're in the finals. This is like whoever wins this wins the event. And he's like shaking, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you shaking? Because he's actually nervous that he could lose because of like the list pair. He beat me in one. And if I played a little better, I probably would have beat him, but that's fine. And I told him, like, dude, relax. We're just buddies. Like, I don't care. Like, I've already.
Yeah, some of that competitive edge though comes out as nerves. Because like for me, it comes out like as nerves for me too. But it's like a combination of excitement and nervousness. It's like nervous excitement.
Well, that's why I take a bunch of antibiotics and start drinking when they tell you not to drink with the antibiotics. So I'm like fucked up, and I'm like, let's play a game. and then they're like, what happened? I don't know. I won. Fuck if I know.
You drink your ketamine.
Yeah, my hallucinogenics. Well, I did that to Jeff last time I played him at Adepticon, and he was just like, I don't even know what he's doing. He's going like Super Saiyan here and just winning. I had to apologize to him because I was so fucked up. Like, I basically had a beer, but the antibiotics made me feel like I took like 6 beers, and I was like pretty drunk. Yeah, don't do that. Don't take drugs and drink. It fuck you up real quick.
Yeah, I don't do it.
Well, I got my tooth pulled the Monday, and the event was on a Friday kind of thing. And I should have been drinking at all anyway. Yeah, it was great. Okay, we're done here.
Choices.
Like and subscribe to Competent Conquest. Watch Ben's games. Like and subscribe to BonkTable. Join the BonkTable Discord. Listen to these podcasts anywhere you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.